I think I'm a special one.
Fabregas, lovely ball threaded through. Costa, what a start!
Frank Lampard to win it. He's got it.
He's done it! The greatest night in the history of Chelsea Football Club.
It's probably the only time I'm able to wear red on camera because it is Christmas. So I've got my Christmas hat on. You should put yours on at home. If you've got even a Chelsea one, because I know they sell the blue ones, I should probably get myself one for next year. But this is the Christmas Added Time Q&A. Thank you for submitting your questions. Going to be diving into it in a second here. I just want to say a thank you and feel like it's a great time to say thank you for all your support on the show. I say the show now because I know there is a segment of people of my audience who just listen to it on the podcast platforms rather than actually watching on YouTube. I remember getting a few comments this year that, you know, people have kind of moved from podcast to YouTube and didn't even know there was a YouTube channel, which I find quite funny. But, you know, wherever you've taken in my show, whether it's on your headphones, listening out and about as a podcast or watching on YouTube, which is kind of the original way of Son of Chelsea, I just want to say a massive thank you for the support in 2024. It's been a hectic year and it has been, from a Chelsea point of view, another chaotic year. Let's hope 2025 is a little bit more stable, but I always feel like that's asking Santa for far too much regarding Chelsea Football Club. It kind of always is chaos at Stamford Bridge, and that's kind of why we love Chelsea as an institution. They are predictably unpredictable, which is kind of the point. But, you know, I think that overall, just getting to new landmarks this year on the show, some of the great conversations we've had with guests recently, but also towards the start of 2024, it's been really enjoyable. So I'm excited with the new studio, especially moving into 2025 to do bigger and better things. So let's jump into your questions. Firstly, here from James: why do we not have a backup left back? To me, that's a top target beyond goalie and striker. Would have been sick to have not sold Maatsen. Either way, we need a gusto for Cuckoo's spot. Whether you, James, I guess, just don't really rate him. I mean, this is really an indictment. You left him out. I mean, that is Renato Vega. That's really the point of signing Renato Vega, because Maresca decided he didn't like Ben Chilwell. Chilwell's, for his own career, I hope he gets a move somewhere in January. That's Renato Vega. And I find it a little bit weird he didn't start against Everton. I felt like it was the obvious moment to start Renato Vega, because he also can invert into central midfield, which we know Cucurella does, and I would have liked to have seen in that type of game how Vega would, you know, very much deal with a higher caliber of opponent than he's regularly faced when he's played for Chelsea, because in the majority he's played Conference League and Carabao Cup games, so the quality of opponent really hasn't been there. I think I spoke about it during the summer. Frustrated with Maatsen, like with others, like Lewis Hall as well. We could go through the list of, you know, times with fullbacks and with an academy players we've kind of really flopped on and really messed up situations that could have been great succession plans for us in the first team. However, and hopefully Josh Achimpong is going to be this for Chelsea now with the new contract. However, I just would like to see whether it's, you know, Vega in training, Vega in his performances isn't doing enough to justify a first place, but I kind of think that's why you bought him, so you should be using him a bit more, especially when the defence is stretched. So I like Vega. I think he looks physically ready for the Premier League. I think in terms of maybe developing more his game inverted, I think he needs to do a little bit more, because we saw against Newcastle, he's not great at being pressed intensely. However, I think for a young player who's already playing for his international team as well, there's a lot to be excited about. So I just would hope we use Vega enough for him to develop into that for Cucurella. At the Bridge Pod, this is a very Christmas question. Here is a question for your Christmas Added Time. If you could gift a Secret Santa to 3 Chelsea players, who are you choosing and what are you gifting? I'm going to limit this to current Chelsea players. I could, you know, it would be far too easy to go back and give Diego another dirt bike, or, you know, go back through Chelsea history and give former players. Instead, we're going to go for current players. So Cole Palmer, obviously, I'm giving him an air fryer. I believe he probably does have an air fryer, but if he doesn't have an air fryer, a Ninja one, we're giving him a Ninja air fryer for Christmas to do his chippy chips, obviously. Marc Cucurella, yeah, it's low-hanging fruit. It's low-hanging mistletoe at this time of the year. What a load of nonsense. New boots. He's got to get new boots. Ditch the Puma, maybe move over to Adidas or move over to Nike. Needs new boots. I think whether he needs some ice skates as well for the season, so he isn't doing any more of those slips in key games. And finally, Reece James, I'm going to give him a Pilates course, or kind of a membership to somewhere where he can do a bit more stretching. I know Joe Tweed's brought this up the last time Reece got injured. Maybe that's the solution to his ongoing hamstring problems. He needs a bit more flexibility. So that's kind of the three I picked out. Let me know down in the comments below, what's the answer to this question for you with current Chelsea players? If you have any different ones, if you have different presents for Palmer, Cucurella and Reece James, let me know in the comments below. Calvin asks, hi Dan, I understand that Andrey Santos is having a terrific season at our sister club Strasbourg in Ligue 1 in France, but don't you think he should be recalled in January so that we could definitely play with a double pivot on a regular basis, as we are much more stable defensively with it? Plus Lavia is struggling to carry the load because of injury. Also, he would sure be covered for Caicedo if he got injured and had to miss substantial time. Santos is doing incredibly well. We've spoken about him on the show before. He is a player that I think is really benefiting from the loan this season, as well the loan he had at the second half of last season at Strasbourg, and maybe will be the first success of the sister club kind of working for Chelsea and Blueco, of kind of that pipeline. Not great, I think, for Strasbourg, because eventually they're going to have to lose Andrey Santos, and I think it will be very soon. So because it is a sister club, you kind of think, Chelsea could probably get Santos back very easily. However, I'm sometimes looking at it from a squad need type of situation. However, because Maresca recently said that the likes of Dewsbury Hall, Cesare Casadei, Ben Chilwell and others who barely played will likely be getting moves away next month. If Dewsbury Hall were to leave, suddenly the argument for bringing back Santos over Dewsbury Hall is obvious already. Like, shouldn't have signed Dewsbury Hall in the first place. However, like Ugo Chukwu and Santos, maybe if you're looking for some midfield cover, I guess the counter argument would be for Santos is he's doing so well in his career and he's getting regular, top quality, top tier football in France, and he's developing very rapidly. And if you were to take him from that environment, like we kind of did with Casadei, I mean, I guess, we recalled Casadei last January, and I think that really stalled his development because he came back from Leicester, Maresca's Leicester, and suddenly he wasn't getting any football again. And like he's reverted back, and as a player, it feels like he's really stalled. And I'm not entirely sure what his Chelsea career holds now. I think for Santos' own benefit, I think it's better he stays at Strasbourg. For Chelsea, I understand it. And I think if, Dewsbury Hall leaving and you could bring back Santos, and absolutely, Romeo Lavia's injury concerns are real. I will say that I think 2025 will be the year that Santos arrives at Chelsea, properly. I just think it would be better for his own career he arrives in the summer, personally. I just think that would be a better way of going about things, because if he arrives now and, it's good to have, cover, absolutely. But let's say it doesn't happen, touch wood, we don't want this to happen. Caicedo, Enzo and Lavia stay fit for the majority of the rest of the season, and they remain the first choice trio. And really, Santos would get, I think, substantial minutes in the Conference League, given the knockout stages and probably the early rounds of the FA Cup. But is that better for him than staying with Strasbourg, playing in that league, developing, being a star for them, scoring big goals, growing his stature, growing his confidence, so then when he arrives in the summer in Chelsea's pre-season camp, he is in a much better place? I just feel that, again, short term, I understand people's clamour to see Santos arrive, but I just wonder whether next summer would be a better point for him in his own career to arrive back at Chelsea, because I think Dewsbury Hall will be off either next month or will be off in the summer, because it's been such a waste of a signing. And also, Cesare Casadei, I could see making a permanent move away. Leslie Ugochukwu, I could see making a permanent move away. So there is enough space for Santos to eventually arrive at Chelsea in the next 6-7 months and make his spot his own. And finally, Clayton here says, I think we need a solid injury-free partner for Levi. I'm thinking Marc Guehi, but do we stick with Tosin? Thoughts? Tosin obviously deserves a lot of credit. He made such a big challenge in the Everton game that really saved Chelsea a point, and I thought all round had a pretty decent game, arguably his best in a Chelsea shirt so far, and very much providing what I think Chelsea and all of us hoped when we signed him in the summer: a Premier League ready, good backup who maybe could develop into something more. As a free transfer, low risk signing, hopefully it can turn out to be more. But I understand your concern, because suddenly we've had Fofana go down injured, Badiashiel's gone down injured. We're not sure when Reece is going to be back. I know there's been optimism over the past week. We're talking about centre-backs, but in terms of defensive players, I'm always a little bit like, you got to be cautious with Reece James. Like, I'm not entirely sure when he'll be back. So in terms of that whole area, I am a believer that, yes, I think it is probably one that's going to need to be addressed, especially towards next season. I think Chelsea will need better cover, and whether Fofana is ever going to remain injury-free enough to become a certified starter or a trusted, reliable squad player where he isn't missing large parts of the season. And Marc Guehi, I've seen the rumours again. I mean, it's quite funny to me, because back in 2021, I think it was June or July 2021, I was adamantly against selling Marc Guehi to Crystal Palace. My concern is, once again, we are doing things that have caused us problems in the transfer window before. Now, in the centre-back situation, in a year's time, you've got Colwell out at Huddersfield for a year. He's a really highly rated centre-back. Another one. In a year's time, is he going to come back to Chelsea? Of course, he's on a longer term contract, which gives Chelsea a lot more power in that situation. But is he going to think to himself, is my path blocked if we've signed someone else? This is the issue Chelsea have. And if they aren't signing top quality players to fill those positions, then I have a problem. If we're signing 20 to 30 million players who don't radically improve what we already have, and those players are kind of blocking the path of those youngsters, then I have a problem, which is what we've seen in recent years. I have no problem with Chelsea signing the best in the business, basically, to upgrade our first team. I don't think many people have that issue. I think the issue they have is when they see the club spending money on players that really aren't Chelsea standard, that we struggle to sell, and maybe force us to sell some academy talents we probably don't need to, and it's probably going to cause us issues. And so this is not a hindsight thing. And I remember at the time saying, like, we're going to have to end up buying this guy back for about 50-60 million. And I could see a situation where Chelsea in 2025 buy Marc Guehi back for 50 to 60 million. Now, I think Marc Guehi on his own is worth that. I think he would be a valuable addition to Chelsea's defence. I would love to see Guehi and Levi as a back two, because, to be honest, that could have been the way it went a little bit more seamlessly if Chelsea hadn't have sold Marc Guehi in 2021, because a year later, of course, both Christensen and Rudiger moved on. Now, we all talk about sliding doors moments, and would Guehi have become the same player if he remained at Chelsea? Who knows, right? But Guehi absolutely, I think, has been one of the Premier League's more consistent and just really dominant, and also fastly developing players. Obviously for our academy, it was clear that he had a lot of talent within him, and he quickly became the Championship's best defender when he was on loan at Swansea. And I think there's a clamour in goalkeeper and defence for Chelsea to put out a statement signing. Now, I think Guehi probably fits into that more, in terms of, we've got to put this in the framework of who Chelsea sign in terms of profile. And we know they don't really sign over 25s, and they're not really looking to sign over 25s. Now, Guehi is at a good age where you can make the argument that, yeah, you're paying a lot here, and I think you're paying for the now, but you're also still paying for the future, because this is a guy who still has years to go left in his senior career. He's had consistent minutes as a Premier League starter at Crystal Palace. Newcastle, I thought were going to sign him in the summer. They didn't. So that opens up the door. Would Guehi be open to returning to Chelsea? I think he would, especially this Chelsea, one where, it feels like it's going in an upward trajectory again, hopefully, in the short and long term. So I'm still of the belief that, yeah, if Guehi was available, if that became like a serious target for Chelsea, I'd have, very little against signing him. Because, it's not like we've got a great... Tosin, I think, was a decent backup signing. Disasi, I don't think is going to be here that much longer. You've got question marks over Fofana's fitness. So, yeah, you do need to start looking at centre-back pairings for Levi, because Levi is very much certified as left centre-back for me now. Like, that is his spot, and it has been for some time. It's now about who's that partner. I think I'd love it to be Fofana, but like with Kante, like with Reece James, there comes a point when a player consistently gets injured. I think as a club, you have to mitigate for that. You have to plan around that player, unfortunately. You have to start looking beyond that player. And maybe that will be the case in this position. Also because Chelsea's defence, I know we got a clean sheet yesterday, but it's not like our defence is watertight. So maybe that's an area to look at. So that is it for the Christmas Q&A. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your support throughout the year. I'm hopefully going to be back, probably not in the studio because I'm with family on Boxing Day. Hopefully I'll be able to give you some form of a review of the Fulham game. I'll see if I can get out a Fulham preview as well before then, but I'm sure like a lot of you, it starts to get really hectic at this time of the year. So it's trying to, keep consistent uploads as much as I can. But I wish you all a very Merry Christmas with your loved ones, family, friends, pets, wherever you are spending Christmas, whatever your Christmas looks like, or if you're just having some time to relax and chill. I hope you have a great time, lots of laughs, fun. Drink responsibly, but do enjoy a beer if you can, or whatever you like to drink at this time of the year. And I'll see you again very soon. All the best.